It's an international requirement, isn't it?
Okay.
So it's not really an invention.
No, I'm just giving an example of a political party that is already doing.
And that happened to be your political party. That is the problem.
Indeed. There's nothing wrong in talking about that.
No, I just don't want you to campaign.
Okay, I wouldn't campaign.
Okay, please.
But let me just put that point across. That is something which other parties we would hope they will emulate, and then also try to do something. And some other parties can even go for an even higher percentage and give that opportunity. The only thing I want to say to my sister, and he said politics is very hostile to women. I think it is generally hostile to everyone. Mm-hmm. So it's not only specific to women, but it is hostile to everyone. I mean, you wouldn't know it until when you are in politics or you have a relative in politics. You receive or you come under all kind of aspersions and insults and vitriols that you wouldn't want to hear. But that is the nature of our politics, and we need to do a lot more in order to enhance our politics, the language in our politics, and I think that comes from the leadership. Not a war, but it is an exchange of ideas as to who best has the best ideas to serve our country.
So politics is war or is not war? Do you agree with the lady about her contribution about why women don't really run for office?
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Mr. Drame. I tend to agree with the lady. In fact, we have no choice. We cannot disagree simply because of the nature of the society, the nature of our African culture and our tradition. Women are mostly in our African societies assistants, helping in their domestic chaos. Although the law is there to give all the support that is required for the women to come out and participate in not only politics, but in all spheres of life. Because the law does not distinguish between a man and a woman. The law says anybody, all citizens. Like my learned friend has said, the Gambian Constitution, the African Charter, the Universal Charter. In fact, the law has gone beyond limiting the powers of women to the Constitution. More powers. Now, if you even tap a woman on her back, it's called abuse or molestation or harassment. So they have all the laws there to give them support. But just like Mr. Njai have said, I think they have this culture of fear. That is one. Intimidation and marginalization and being sidelined as supporters rather than leaders. So that culture needs a lot of transformation to enable women to come up and take up leadership positions up to the extent of vying for presidency.
I couldn't agree more, but we will go with you, Dabo. We'll skip the rules a little bit. Citizenship, what does it mean? What does the law of the Gambia say about citizenship? Who is a citizen?
A citizen...
Because that would be a requirement for presidency, wouldn't it?
Indeed, yes. A citizen under our laws is someone who is born in the Gambia or is a citizen by descent. So that is that his father or his grandparents are Gambian citizens at the time of his birth. So you can acquire citizenship by descent. You can acquire it by Gambia is only by descent, to be clear, because you can be born in the Gambia, but you are not a citizen of the Gambia if your parents are not Gambians at the time of your birth. So our citizenship is only acquired by descent, and that is that one of your parents or forefathers has to be a Gambian. So you can acquire it even if you're not born in the Gambia. In other countries, citizenship is acquired by birth. like the United States and other countries. But Gambia is mainly by descent. So you can acquire Gambian citizenship even if you're born abroad, but your parents are from Gambia. You would still be able to acquire citizenship. So
then it takes us back to the question. If you have acquired citizenship, can you run for office?
You can run for office. The only restriction there...
Presidency, I meant.
Presidency, yes. The only restriction there is that you must not hold citizenship of another country at the time of your running for presidency.
Is this the case in your view? Because you are the two lawyers here. So if I marry a Gambian for 10, 15 years and become Gambian, but I'm from Senegal, can I run for presidency in the Gambia?
No, certainly not. You don't allow citizens by naturalization and citizens by registration to run for presidency, because that is why Malana friend said the law has made reasonable restrictions on applicants vying for such an important office. This is the highest office of the land. You can't have I don't want to use the word foreigner, but a stranger coming from another country by virtue of his or her marriage to a Gambian. Within a period of 10 years, you are qualified to be registered as a citizen and or naturalized as a citizen. These two have restrictions because the Constitution said either by birth or by descent. So the other two categories are not qualified to run for citizenship.
Yes. Let me just,
okay.
Let me just
let's deal with the lawyers and then we'll come with the civics.
I'll just come back to that.
Yes.
Because there's a distinction between, remember I said Gambian
VTH to two foreign persons.
Yes.
Are you a citizen or not?
You see, there the law said by birth, so and or descent. So the birth there, if you're born in the Gambia, you can still argue that you have right to stand for presidency because you were born in the Gambia, not only by descent. If it says that only by descent, then that means that both of your parents must be Gambian at birth.
This will be very interesting to make a case out of, because if you were born in the Gambia to non-Gambian parents, you are not a citizen. And a non-citizen cannot contest for presidency, can they?
No.
I'm just saying, it's funny with the law, no?
Yes.
We'll let you come in there before we go to civil society. Yes. But if it's the law states that if you were born in the Gambia by birth or by descent, you can run for office, then that is confusing.
Yes, there's no confusion there. We only have to understand what the law says about by birth, or when it says by birth, it means that either your mother or your father or grandparents, grandmother or grandfather is a citizen of the Gambia. If you are born in the Gambia with your parents or grandparents, one of them being citizens of the Gambia, that's citizenship by birth. If it is by descent, you can be born outside the Gambia, like Malana friend have said, and you are not a citizen by birth, but you can be a citizen by descent. If your mother or grandfather, either your parents or grandparents, one of them at least is a citizen of the Gambia.
This would refer to semesters, internationally engaged people, UN staff.
Yes.
Once you are Gambian, but you have a child while
outside
you are
the Gambia,
anywhere else,
that is a child,
person
a citizen by descent.
Okay.
Yeah, that means one of his descendants is a citizen of the Gambia.
We'll go to you, Mr. Njai.
Yeah, I fully agree, because I was just looking at the provisions in the Constitution that says that if you are born here and one of your parents is a Gambian, then you qualify. which means that for non-Gambian parents having children here, they don't qualify as citizens, even though the law makes provision for them later on after. But that doesn't then qualify you for the presidency. But again, this is why I keep saying, and civil society keep saying that we really need a new constitution that looks into these issues, because there is a lot of disadvantage meted out to children that are born in this country, speak the language, do not know the country of their parents, and they are deprived of citizenship. And then we, the same Gambians, are going to other countries to have our children there and want our children to receive citizenship of those countries. So I think we need to go back to our hospitable nature as Gambians to really look at this aspect of citizenship.
Thank you. Mrs. Sarr?
I could not agree more with them, but coming from civil society perspective, and with legislation in place, of course, it is good because it organizes and it sets the rules for us to go by. But we have seen in 2016 when people wanted to vote and they were denied voting, and this is as a result of being regarded as non-Gambians, non-citizens. So I think as John has said, there is time for the 2021 draft, which has progressive laws, to be brought back and discussed, so that at least we will not have these issues that will keep cropping, especially when it comes to people going into elections or people having the right to be in decision-making position. Because at the end of the day, all these laws that are brought, sometimes if you look at the constitution, they are conflicting laws as well. And it brings so much confusion into society. And I think we need to really regularize all these issues that are conflicting so that we can have a just society where each and every one of us will enjoy the privileges and the rights that are enshrined in the constitution, in the laws of the land.
Thank you. Thank you. What is the other requirement to run for office? Let's go there. I think we've exhausted citizenship for now. We could always come back to it.
Indeed. The other requirement is that the person has to complete, well, you cannot be a dual citizen at the time of running for, time of nominating for or vying for.
What is dual citizenship?
So that is holding another country's nationality. So that means you are not only Gambian, but you also what they call having allegiance to another nation, another sovereign state. So if you are holding, say, a Gambian passport and a Senegalese passport, you would be classed as having allegiance to Senegal as well, and having a dual citizenship, that is, that you are not only Gambian. So that is the patriotism objective of the constitutional framers there, that they want the person to be a patriot, to be a Gambian only, and not another, and not of another nationality. So the fear is that if the person is having allegiance to another country, would he be serving the best interest of the Gambia, or would he be compromising that to the order? State. Yes. So that is the requirement for qualifying. So I think that is also, one would say, is reasonable.
Is it reasonable?
Yeah, thank you very much. Reasonableness is a dynamic term, a dynamic word. It's very flexible. You can stretch it to the maximum. It depends on circumstances, because a Gambian who is holding a dual citizenship may be more affiliated with the country of his other nationality than the Gambia. In such a case, there is a further restriction that you must be resident within the jurisdiction, within the country, for the last preceding.
We were thinking we'll use that as its own residency.
Yeah.
But now let's dwell on dual citizenship. Is it reasonable to say you must be only of Gambian citizenship to run for president?
Well, it's a very difficult term, and this is a very big topic and subject of debate. The reason I said so, we have so many Gambians with talents outside the Gambia, and they hold dual citizenship. So are we saying in our constitution that all those Gambians who have dual citizenship in the US, in America, in Europe, all over the world are not qualified to contest for presidency, even if they have the means, they have the capability, they have the talent, they have everything that is required except that dual nationality. They don't have to relinquish that nationality to be qualified.
In other words, it's not reasonable.
To me, it's not reasonable.
Okay, Mr. Njai, reasonable, not reasonable?
Well, I think it's a very interesting thing because you can, reasonability in this sense, you can even renounce for another country and still hold allegiance to that country. You know, so I don't really see...
what is your understanding of allegiance to a foreign country? Okay, let's break it down.
Let's take, for instance, now, we have we have had presidents in this country.
Well, for the first time, Dr. Ismail Assise has relinquished, so yes, we can use him as a practical example.
But if he was president, yes, and he now decides to sell our country over to even with his citizenship in this Gambia, case, no, with his Gambian citizenship, now decides to compromise the integrity of our country because of financial gains or whatever to another nationality, then they are paying allegiance to that nationality, even though they still have citizen. They only have loyalty to their country on paper, but in their hearts they are doing something that is detrimental to the country. So you could talk about the reasonableness or reasonability of that provision, looking at the intentions of the individual. So you could legislate, I can renounce my citizenship. I may not even have a citizenship of another country. But let's look at what politicians do. You sell out your nation to other nations because of your own selfish interests.
So not reasonable.
I don't think that should be the main thing. Maybe the thinking is if you have a citizenship, then you owe allegiance, you take an oath or whatever to be loyal to that country. Maybe the oath. But, you know, we take oaths in our religions. But
well, Bilai Walaitala is a common saying.
Yeah, and we don't mean it. So I really think we should have a rethink on this and look at what the intentions are. Like he rightly said, we could be disqualifying very credible Gambians, sons of the soil, but just because of opportunity or something else, they owe loyalty to another country. I don't think dual citizenship really says somebody is not patriotic. I don't believe that.
Reasonable, not reasonable, Mrs. Saha?
For me, I think it is reasonable to restrict citizenship to...
and political participation in this case.
We have, it's not anybody who can come and run the affairs of a country. It's not, what I'm trying to say is that you cannot allow anyone, especially when you have a dual citizenship. I think it is important to put a yardstick. It is important to guard the presidency because the president is the commander-in-chief. The president controls virtually everything of this country. And you cannot have somebody who has double citizenship to run for office and then tend to show allegiance to this country. Let's look at the Gambia. Let's take the Gambia. It's a poor country. We are trying to maintain quality of life for the citizens. Mm-hmm. And all the people that go out to get citizenship, I'm sorry for other countries. We all know we've been outside, we've traveled, and we know how hard it is to get citizenship in a foreign country. For example, in the First World, in Europe. So really, when we come back, I mean, the aspiration that one should have is to ensure that at least your country is developed enough so that others will not have the tendency to go and acquire citizenship somewhere. So therefore, if you have the opportunity to be a Gambian and then serve your country. I don't think we could open it up for any other person, as a Gambian, but with dual citizenship to apply. And this is my own opinion. I'm coming from a development perspective, and I think people should understand that we as a third world country really need to have standards, and we really need to have yardstick to guard the presidency, because it's not an office that anybody could just go without being very patriotic. And when you have double citizenship, the tendency of being having allegiance to another country is very high. So this is my take in this. I think it is reasonable to at least restrict that part. Yeah, restrict citizenship.
Yeah, Mr. Davo,
I just wanted to say that he's not alone in that, in holding that view.
No, but you began.
The CRC went around and we had this debate with them from the diaspora to tell them the reason why Gambians in the diaspora needed to have citizenship in those countries, because it makes their life easy. It makes it much more convenient for them to stay in those countries rather than be chased around every now and then. So especially the regime that we came from, the difficulties that a lot of people experienced, to the point that a lot of them were forced into exile. They needed something to stay in those countries, and that is citizenship, in order for them to be able to have access to some jobs. For example, police and other jobs in countries like UK. You have to hold citizenship in order to be able to do those kind of jobs. But the general view of the Gambians is that, and this is why it is maintained in the draft constitution. It is maintained there that the majority of Gambians said they don't want a president who has allegiance to another country. So that's where we are.
No, but let's do one more round on this, Lawyer Bosch. Do you think Dr. Ismaila Ceesay having risked, it's a risk, his Swedish citizenship to run for office, in the event of him not becoming president, would it have been worth it?
Yeah.
If it were you, or your view.
Exactly what I wanted to say. It's not only, this issue is not limited to Gambians in the Gambia. It's also extended to Gambians outside the Gambia, in the sense that it's not the fault of Dr. Ceesay that he has dual citizenship, because if your parents happen to live outside the Gambia and give birth to you outside the Gambia, that's beyond your control. You don't have a choice. Your parents are Gambians, and the mere fact that they are born outside the Gambia gives you that second qualification as a citizenship, as a citizen of that country. So it's not a matter of choice that I decided to be a Gambian and not a Swedish, or I decided to be a Swedish and not a Gambian. Now,
would it be different if it was citizenship by marriage or citizenship by residence?
Yes.
Would it be different?
There is a big difference between marriage and registration and naturalization. Those are no-go areas for presidency, because those ones can easily switch.
No, I meant the other citizenship. In Dr. Ceesay's case, if he is Swedish by marriage, Swedish by residency, but he was not a natural-born Swedish, would you say that's different?
No, certainly there's a big difference. There is a big difference between acquiring citizenship of another country by marriage or by naturalization. The difference is the culture, the habit, the intuition, the way of thinking, the way of acting. If you are born and brought up in the Gambia, certainly you assimilate into Gambian way of life and culture. If you are born outside the Gambia, it's the same thing. The culture where you are brought up has a big impact and influence on your life and your way of thinking. So if he is born and brought up in the Gambia, but he naturalized or got registered as a citizen of another country outside the Gambia and acquires dual citizenship, in that case, it's easy to relinquish. And then if you are vying for a political office like this and then you lose, you have to reconsider. whether you have to apply again in order to acquire your benefits that you have lost in that case.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
But Mr. Jai, I don't know if you're following this debate. There was a story with the Fatu Network a few days ago, also naming other candidates that would have potential citizenship other than Gambia. I don't know if we had followed that. So that was interesting. I mean, the Gambia for All, Bibi Dabo name came up. Tamsir Jase came up. I think SM Baifal came up.
Yeah.
And who else was it? So this issue of dual citizenship then is affecting a lot of capable Gambians. And so that's why when we say it's reasonable, is it really reasonable? Because there's a lot of talent that also can be wasted. No?
I am sure there are with the landed people and their books. I'm sure there are always the tendency of reclaiming back your citizenship. I'm sure, because I mean when we're dealing with laws, especially with human rights, it's not always concrete. There are always certain how can I call it, provisions that can allow you to reclaim your citizenship back. Why I'm saying that it should be restricted is that the president is the commander-in-chief dealing with our intelligence. The president appoints the governor of the central bank dealing with the economic activities of this country. And also the president appoints the chief justice dealing with laws. So for me, I don't think it should be open up. I think it should be really guarded. I mean...
let me throw spanner in the works. From 2017 to date, our president is guarded by non-Gambians. Have you realized that? So if you are talking in sense of this context, really, do we have secrecy in our security at the moment? I mean, talking about economic and all of that. You don't have to answer the question, but I'm just saying, is that not something we should look at and question?
But you see,
because you've referred to commander-in-chief twice. So I'm saying, he's commander-in-chief of economic as well? Or is he actually commander-in-chief? If foreign forces are in country and they're responsible for a component of our security, you don't have to answer this. The politicians and the lawyers can. Okay, go. There, yeah.
I think it is rather unfortunate that we find ourselves in this situation, and I quite agree with you that as the commander-in-chief of the presidency, and I am optimistic, and I hope that our intelligence is not lost. I just hope that they are here for a purpose, and it's to maintain the peace and stability of this country, and not to get into the intelligence of this country, because the Gambia is a sovereign state, and I hope that the agreement does actually spelt it out clear, and they know their limitations.
Yes, come in.
If I can come in, you know, this is why I said it really is not the issue whether it's you have dual citizenship. There was a time in our intelligence that an Italian was somewhere in our intelligence.
Did he not create the jungle?
And the president we had was fully Gambian. So
never had any more citizen at that time.
So what I'm saying is, we could harp on this issue of dual citizenship, meaning, you know, you have a conflict of interest, but it's the intention of the person on the seat. Are they credible enough? Do they love their country enough? Are they patriotic enough to put the interest of their country above international interests? We see what the Chinese are doing in Africa, in a place like Zambia, that the Chinese are in charge of the police force. The commander-in-chief gave the Chinese that authority. So you could, and I'm sure the president in that country does not have a Chinese citizenship.
Not HH, not the new president.
Yeah,
I mean, you're talking about
the new one. What I'm saying,
the new one is a good guy.
So that's what I'm saying, that you can have dual citizenship and have loyalty to two countries and then have a conflict of interest. But we have also seen people that have one citizenship, but because of the wickedness and the greed, they sell out their nations to other countries.
Mr. Moj, we'll have you before we go to Mr. Dabo with a different point.
Yes, I just wanted to add this issue of on this dual citizenship. You see, somebody holding a dual citizenship may perform even better than a citizen of the Gambia, than a sole citizenship. You see, we have to be reasonable, not only reasonable, but very, very reasonable in the circumstances of this case, because we have to be liberal-minded and not on a hardline position or a conservative position to the extent that we deny Gambians abroad, Gambians outside the Gambia, the opportunity. You have circumstances. A Gambian outside who doesn't have a house in the Gambia cannot come and ask for presidency in this country, just like Mr. Njai have said. And a Gambian in the Gambia, also even without the means, without other qualifying for other restrictions, will not be able to contest for the office because there are other limitations. So dual citizenship is not the only restriction imposed on presidency. So we need to, I think, revisit these laws so that we allow a host of Gambians outside to contribute their quota
into national development. So
if I just,
I was going to throw you outside, but throw the spanner.
Yes, I just want to throw a point there. I think what makes it reasonable is that they're not saying if you hold a dual citizenship, you can never be a president. All they're saying is at the time of your nomination, you would not be qualified. So just like Dr. Sisi did, you can renounce your other citizenship and stand for the presidency in the Gambia. That makes it reasonable, I think, because you have a choice. The option is there. It would have been the other way around if they said you cannot at all because you've already pledged an allegiance to another country, and as a result, you are bad for life. That would be very draconian, and I don't think anyone will sit that. That wouldn't sit well with anybody. But this is a requirement which gives people the choice, and that choice, I believe, for someone who is born in another country where they are born and acquired citizenship by descent, I don't think they simply would lose that the right of reclaiming that citizenship after renouncing. So it is reasonable in the sense that there is a choice. But if there is no choice and the bar is a lifetime ban, then it cannot be reasonable.
Residency is a requirement to run for office, yes?
Yes, it is.
What does residency requirement, what really does it entail?
It talks of ordinary residence. And ordinary residence means that you have
That's confusing. For a layman, you tell me I'm a resident or I'm not a resident. What is ordinary in residence?
It doesn't mean you have to be there every day of the 5 years or the 360 days in each year and you multiply that by 5 days. It's just that you must maintain a presence in that country. So the presence could be you have a house that which you return to. So you can go for work somewhere else, but your home has to be Gambia. Understand? So it cannot be that you are in the Gambia, but you have a home somewhere else. Your whole family is not here, but it is somewhere else. And then you're paying, some countries use taxation as a yardstick of measuring this ordinary residence in a particular country. Where do you pay tax at? Some other countries have now do away with that, like UK, they've abandoned that now as part of their definition. But in essence, ordinary residence mean the person must have a presence somewhere. So he has not abandoned that country completely, and then he is, say, coming back there at least once a year and he's paying some form of tax, and he continues to regard that place as his home. See, that's my way of understanding it.
Wait, these are lawyer things, so you'll excuse me, we'll have to go to a lawyer boat.
Yes, thank you. The issue of residence, like I said earlier, the law is not something that is hard like this.
Sometimes it is, but okay.
No. The law is always dynamic. It's flexible. It's stretchable. You have to interpret it based on the circumstances that is surrounding that particular case. When we talk about ordinary residence, ordinary doesn't mean permanent residence. Permanent residence is maybe throughout the year. But
why did the law not say non-permanent? Why is it ordinary?
Yeah.
For us, ordinary is very ordinary.
Yeah, you see, the law has its own language. And that language, we are born in that language. We found that language in the courts. We live it there, and our children will adopt it. So we cannot change that. Ordinarily, we are used to this in the legal system. Okay. Ordinary residence is talking about somebody who is present in the country for most part of the year, not the whole year. So he may be here during summer vacation, he is out. Christmas, he is out. Easter, he is out. But if you are out of the country for more than half of the year or 3/4 of the year, again, the question of your ordinary residence will arise. But even in this circumstance, we have to critically look at these provisions. Somebody who is not ordinarily resident in the Gambia, but outside the Gambia, may be more productive and more efficient and more useful and beneficial to the presidency than somebody who is resident in the Gambia throughout the year. So to use that also as a barrier or as a restriction on somebody who wants to aspire for presidency, I don't think doesn't hold any water. This is a clause that we have to do away with. Because residence is, to me, I don't think it's so fundamental.
No, we'll come back to you. We'll have to go to civil society. Now, Mrs. Starr, ordinarily resident, what is your understanding? Because for me, ordinary is too ordinary.
To me, I think ordinary residence means you live in a particular locality or live in the country for most of the time. But we have seen our politicians.
Is that reasonable to you?
To me, yes, it is. Because I mean, if you want to run for office, obviously you should be within the jurisdiction of wherever you are running the office, but to know the issues, to be nearer to the people, as we civil society will say, at least to know the felt needs of the people. Being away and not knowing what are the issues will not help you to run the office effectively. Even though we have seen our politicians, I mean, I was born in Banjul and I live in Kumbo. And sometimes when people will say, but you can go to Banjul and stand for elections. I mean, I do not know much in Banjul now because I have lived in Kumbo for the half of my life. So really, I mean, for somebody to live outside or to spend most of the time outside and you intend to run for office, I think should be questioned. I mean, people should really take you to task to see whether you understand what are the real issues that people need to be addressed. So for me, ordinary residents, I mean, to my understanding, I think it refers to someone who live in a locality or in the country, well, most of the time. Yeah.
Okay, well, before we go to Mr. Njai, it's not a lot of journalists here today because of this OIC incident. Usually we have more. So we are okay to accepting questions outside to send via WhatsApp to 795-2002. And you can specify in your question who from here would you want to answer. So we have about 40 minutes to go before we wrap up. And we will come to that. So, Mr. Njai, coming to you now, in a lot of these discussions, when residency comes, people say Esam Baifal has not been in the Gambia for 5 years. Bibi Dabo has not been in the Gambia for 5 years. Tamsid Jase is barely in the Gambia. He cannot run for office. I think these are the three names we hear. Do we hear any other names?
No, I think these are, yeah.
So, can you speak to that?
You know, this thing is... as the learned people will say, I think they are part of our confusion, because right here before our eyes, the two learned gentlemen have different interpretations. So what I believe is going to we will have to do as a nation, the people that have these concerns, there is a law. We have the Supreme Court who have the authority to interpret these provisions. So when we come to the point, Gambians are used to making noise. If people have diverse opinions as to who is ordinarily resident and who is not, then we should be able to get to the Supreme Court or question the eligibility of the candidate at the IEC, and maybe the IEC, either they take a decision or we go to the Supreme Court. But again, this is what Yankuba said, somebody that has a presence here, whether a land is paying taxes or a home, and comes in. So, but it also begs the question, somebody that comes in once a year for 1 week in the country, you do 7 days resident? out of 365 days, even though you have a home. Does that mean that you are ordinarily resident? And what was the intent of the drafters of the Constitution? Why did they want the person or the president to be ordinarily resident? And that's where maybe I would...
And not permanently resident.
Yeah, and maybe maybe permanently resident may be impossible for whatever reason.
Well, for me, permanently resident is you, me. You may travel.
We see each other every day.
No, but you may travel for 7 days, you come back. I could travel for 2 weeks, come back.
But Anti-Tabu's point is very valid. Possibly there was the intent that the president must be in touch with the feelings and the realities on the ground. So ordinarily resident in that case may mean being present so that you know what the pains and the realities on the ground are, so that you are okay with that.
We'll come to Dabo, then we'll come back to you, Moj. Yes.
I just wanted to correct the point that my land friend just mentioned, and that is that these are laws that we are born in them and then they are here to stay. I don't think that is the case. I believe that laws can be changed, and that is the reason why we have parliament. All these confusions could have been easily rectified or clarified by parliament, and parliament could have just simply insert a clause that clearly defines what they mean by ordinary resident. Like, for example, you could make a requirement of how many days the person has to spend in the country in a year. It could be half a year, as Mboj is saying, or quarter of a year, or something of that sort. Parliament could make that a lot more easy for everyone. But if Parliament isn't doing that, that's why you have all these lacunas in the law, and then we have all these confusion.
What is the lacuna in the law?
It's just the gaps on field gaps, you would say.
So the law also has gaps.
Well, we are talking
like
about
the gap
that.
Between you and I.
Well, we are having
a lacuna.
We're having a gap in the meaning of this ordinary. When you look at the Constitution, there is no definition for it. It hasn't provided definition for what it meant by ordinary residents.
Okay.
So we.
Lawyer Mboj first. Okay. Then we come to you.
Yes. I just want to clarify the issue. You see, when you have a legislation, you look at the purpose and intent of the legislators at the time. This is in 1997. How many years ago? But now, in 2021, in this social media age, you can be resident in America. What you know in the Gambia is 10 times more than somebody who is resident in the Gambia.
Sounds like a good case.
Yeah, definitely. So this issue of residence in the Gambia for the past 5 years or 3 years, it doesn't make much sense now, because the essence is to get in touch with the people. That is the essence of ordinary residence.
So if you are connected, you are watching Gambian TV on satellite, you listen to Gambian radio online, you are in touch with Gambia, you are WhatsApping, you're talking, you're connected, so therefore, you are in touch with the people.
They know about the country. Those outside in the diaspora who are resident outside the Gambia know more about the Gambia than those who are resident in the Gambia.
I will tell you something. Panderimbai sometimes reports things that I don't know about. And I'm here with a radio station and a TV station. I'm like, okay.
He's in America, but he gives the first news in the Gambia to those who are in the Gambia.
That is,
so
I agree.
That is why I said that is archaic now. It's overtaken by events.
What is archaic? You know,
archaic is old laws that we need to change. Yeah, okay. We need to revisit.
Mr. Guy, I hope you're not coming with an archaic idea.
No. The danger of this provision here, without the players knowing what the rules of the game are, what the definitions are, we stand. I mean, this will possibly have to go to the Supreme Court. What does ordinary residency mean? And once the definition, like Yanks was saying, once the definition has not been given beforehand, any decision that is taken and is contested the player may feel that it is against them. It's just like playing a match and asking the ref to interpret the rules. You know,
you would have known the rules ahead.
You should have known the rules ahead. So it would have been better to have this provision maybe explained. You know, this is the definition. These are the number of days you have to spend. But I mean, people can have different. I'm sure all the people, if it's contested, the different learned colleagues will go to the courts, and they will all have opinions as to what ordinary residence is.
I think you wanted to comment. Yes.
Yeah, just to add to what John has said, I think the issue of
is civil society sticking together? The lawyers are definitely not sticking together.
They are not.
Yes.
and even if it goes, even if these conflicting provisions goes to the court, it's still the landed people who will come and defend.
Yeah.
So really, we will be living in a society where we will be having conflicts. It's rather a shame that we are still harping on the 1997 Constitution. We should have brilliant new Constitution if the
politicians did not hijack it. I mean, let's
really,
be, yes.
Really. So we will not be here talking about all these gaps, talking about all these issues, which will eventually complicate our process. Yeah. Because when people start going to the courts and then we're using the 1997 Constitution, we have a problem. But it will still be the same landed people who will come and defend. And
then create lacunas in the law so they confuse us. Dabo?
I think it is wrong to paint all politicians with the same brush. I think we should be very specific to say that the incumbent is the one that hijacked the new constitution.
I would disagree. I would disagree. You know why I would disagree? Okay, it failed in the National Assembly. They have the list representation there.
Anyway, but let me come back to this point. I think the other problem that we've made over the last 5 years is that we concentrated more on the new constitution and did very little on the 1997 constitution. So we
by way of amendments, or
by way of amendments. So we have all these issues there that we should have dealt with. Try to clear all of them, sort it all out, in case this one doesn't come in. But we did not have a backup plan. So now we almost run out of time. We still have all.
Sincerely, nobody expected the 2020 draft to have failed.
That means we put all our hopes in that document, and when it failed, we never came back to the fallback position because we never created that. Because we should have then gone back to the 1997 Constitution and start amending it.
Tinkering with it.
Yes, and then clarify some of these issues. Okay. As John said, by now all of these things would have been very clear. It wouldn't be open to speculation as to who qualifies and who doesn't. We would have known it, whether I qualified or not, because I would have been able to calculate how many days I've spent in this country for the last 5. But can you imagine turning up at nomination and then I'm being told that I'm disqualified, and then my people and my supporters have so much hope in that. So I think they have to give literal interpretation to it, that it is a purposive interpretation to it, broad one and generous one, because it affects people's fundamental right to stand for office. And to say that, look, the intention of the drafters could not have been to deprive a Gambian who has a president in this country, but had to work somewhere. For example, in the case of SFL, had to work at The Hague. You cannot just simply deprive such a person from running for office simply because he had to spend most of his days at his workplace. That's where he earns his living. And if he's
and that's why he earned the money to buy the house
in the Gambia and help his family and support other people in the country. So I think that one would be very, very harsh. I cannot see that being reasonable.
Lawyer Mboj, what is the next requirement to be president of the Gambia? Your mic, please.
Yeah, the issue of education, that is the educational qualification, is next. That is completion of senior secondary school education, or a person who is qualified to be elected as a member of the National Assembly. That's just the basic educational qualification.
Your views on that?
Yes, I think we need to move forward.
What do you mean?
What I mean is that is a very low qualification for a person who wants to run for presidency. Why? Simply because you want the president who is appointing ministers, He's appointing commanders. He's the commander-in-chief. I will borrow my my sisters, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces, the commanding the entire country. I think he needs a little more than senior secondary school qualification. That is why the draft constitution has elevated it to a graduate level. And I think that we need to improve on that.
Would that not have disqualified the current president?
No, I think it has gone back to... No, it's gone back.
It's gone back to senior secondary.
Yes, it's gone back to senior secondary school.
No, with the 97. But I mean the draft itself.
The draft,
is the draft requiring a BA or is it still requiring the OA levels?
No, it's the 97 constitution that is still in operational.
No, we know that. But what we are saying is in the draft, you said it was elevated.
Elevated. Yes.
But the draft has gone back now to secondary, no?
To secondary level. Yes.
I think it was there, but with consultations, the people decided
that it should be changed.
And considering the current crop of politicians and what would favor them in a reasonable manner.
Certainly.
So that is, in your view, the president of the country should be more educated than that.
Than as it is at the moment, yes. Because
you agree, Mr. Jai?
Yeah, that's my position.
You know, I think it is Youngs that talked about completion of secondary school. What does it really mean? I could have gone through secondary school, completed and failed, graduated with complete.
But you have the grade 12 certificate. It's a completion.
With Fs.
It's a completion.
Completion.
It's a completion.
It's not completion.
It is a completion.
The constitution says completed.
It didn't say pass. It says you complete. You've completed.
So what if you did, okay? If you didn't do the exams, then you didn't complete.
Probably not, because you will.
And if you don't the exam and fail, that cannot be completed.
It is a completion.
What the law says.
It's having attended and done. It's completion.
Well, just like my learned friend has said, you have to give the law a meaningful and purposeful interpretation for it to make sense. Suddenly, if you go to the IEC and you said you have completed the SSS.
And you have 9 Fs,
and
yes,
with
but you completed?
With 9 Fs, they will look at you again and say, I think you better go and repeat your grade 12.
But so are you agreeing that it's too low?
So, yeah, I believe.
What would you propose if you had the ink in your hand to sign it off?
Well, I think because you see, so let's not say first degree, because there are people that have done professional courses after grade 12, and they could qualify to run. So I think we should look at what do we have available and then draw a line somewhere. But just saying finishing grade 12, there are people that have finished grade 12, they don't have a first degree, but they have professional qualifications. Do you want to disqualify them because they don't have a first degree? So we need to look at what other tertiary qualifications.
Again, presidency is not for everyone.
Yeah, but there are professional accountants that they don't have a first degree.
But they have AAT, level 1, level 2.
But that's not a first degree. Do you want to qualify? Do you want to?
No, but you were talking about professional certification.
That's what I'm saying, that we must have some other tertiary qualifications added to your grade 12 or O-level qualification. So you could add that and I don't know whether we will have to even think about having work experience.
I think that's what the new constitution says.
Okay, let's go, Mrs. Sar. Is this fair? The secondary level can run presidency?
I think this was done to accommodate
everybody at the time?
Yes, everybody, to accommodate everybody. Because when you
no, I think it was done to accommodate Jame at the time.
Of course.
Yes, but also, you know, it wasn't only restricted to Jame, because we have the madrasas as well. And all these people we are taking into consideration. So as I think what we needed to do at that time was to even add more qualifications than just grade 12. Because as John has said, one can get to grade 12, but have added certificates, even at college level. Because the madrasa now, I don't know whether they are accommodated in the university to do Arabic, but most madrasa students stop at grade 12, according to the education policy. And really, if you want to accommodate them, you have to lower the bar But are those qualifications enough to help you run for office? Because the presidency is no joke.
Now, you raised an interesting point. So, Yanks, I'll bring that to you. The madrasas, are they considered in matters of this nature?
Well,
and should they be considered?
I don't think at the time of drafting this they were contemplated, because we don't have the madrasa system as senior secondary. It might be, but I don't think that falls within the contemplation. But as he is saying, that is something that which can be argued that
it's more inclusive.
It's more inclusive, yes. What I believe that I think that elevating it to a degree level would be a bit discriminatory to a greater percentage of the Gambian population.
But not everybody can be president, sir.
I understand that, but remember,
even if 1% of the public qualifies.
But the world's number one superpower nation, the United States, had presidents who did not have degrees. George Bush was one of them, and Donald Trump.
Who said George Bush doesn't have a degree?
George Bush, the junior one, didn't have a degree.
Both of them had a degree.
No,
he wasn't smart, but he had a degree.
He didn't have a degree.
I think
he claimed to have gone to some tertiary college.
He has the lowest IQ out of United States presidents. We give him that.
Even lower than Donald Trump.
I think so. I think so.
Yes, but the reality is that if America is willing to vote in someone who is not a degree holder and is able to run the affairs of a state that is as complex as America is, I think ours too, we can be able to handle it. The only caveat I'll put there is that the person must pass senior secondary. It cannot be going to senior secondary and failing it, because the failing it alone tells us something that this guy
will fail as a president.
Exactly, of course. If you cannot pass senior secondary, then you cannot
fail president.
Yes. This is the reason why we have on the ones and then prosperous and all these other pronunciation problems that have created a lot of great embarrassment.
No, can you say that again?
Prosperous, and then you have on the one and everything else. So we need a president who would prove that they've passed the exam at grade secondary school. If they can prove that, I think
intonations and pronunciations do happen.
I don't think we should elevate it. I think we should leave it as it is, so that we don't discriminate a greater percentage of our population. Everybody, as I said, is given this fundamental right to be able to stand for public office, and restrictions on that.
Let's progress. I would want to bring this to an end in the next half hour. Let's lead. Education, what's next?
Yes, I just wanted to say on this issue of education that the drafters were very economical with words, because they need to elaborate. A person who has completed senior secondary school, there are a host of Gambians in and out of the jurisdiction who have not completed senior secondary school, but they have gone into other areas, other fields and walks of life, and where they have done excellently well. And if those people are to be considered by virtue of this constitution, and they have not completed their senior secondary school, the question is, are you qualified? Because if you go to the IEC, if they are looking for the criteria for qualification, certainly your secondary school certificate will be one of the documents that is required.
But it's happened in two countries in our sub-region, and very recently. George Manuel, it happened to him. He had to go back to school, get himself educated, come back, contest, and he became president.
Yes.
Julius Maada of Sierra Leone.
Yes.
He was president by military. He went away, went to England, did a master's and all of that, came back. He's now lucky to be president again.
Yes.
So I'm saying, if this is a requirement and it's worth it for a person to give up dual citizenship, to do whatever, if you really genuinely want to lead this country, there is no reason why you cannot go to UTG for 3 or 4 years and commit yourself to run the state. I think this is reasonable.
Yeah, it is reasonable. I agree. What I'm saying is about the disadvantage. We are talking, my learned friend was talking about covering a wide range of Gambians. But we have to also consider that there are certain people, due to circumstances beyond their own control, who do not either attend grade 12 or did not sit to the final exams for whatever reasons. They have their parents are migrating,
or they dropped out.
Yeah, or they drop out. But then eventually they pick up a way of life that is, they even do better than those who completed their senior secondary school.
Okay, sir. So, now let's progress. What is the next requirement apart from secondary education?
Thank you. Under subsection 3, a person who is, whilst holding public office, has been compulsorily retired, terminated, or dismissed from such office, or has been found guilty of any criminal offense by any court or tribunal established by law, or has been found liable for misconduct, negligence, corruption, improper behavior by any commission or committee of inquiry established by law, and shall not be qualified for election as president.
And your understanding of it, sir?
Yes. Yeah, this is very clear. And even lay people who are not lawyers will understand that if you are in the public office, you are retired compulsorily, which means you are almost virtually rendered ineffective. I don't want to say useless, because some retire, but they are not tired. They still want to work. And if you are terminated whilst you are in public office, it means you are not qualified to contest. And if you are dismissed from public office, equally. And then the other B, paragraphs B and C, dealing with criminal conviction, criminal offense, and misconduct. All these are geared towards safeguarding that sensitive position, because the office of a president of a republic should be an office that is run by a young and healthy person, and not a retired, of course, and not a person who has either been terminated or dismissed from public service, or has not been found guilty of any misconduct or criminal offense. All that is intended to secure the generality of the Gambian public. That's my understanding.
I think there is a problem with that kind of a provision. If at all I'm serving in public service and the president decides to engage in corrupt practice and I stand up to him and he dismisses me, should that disqualify me from running for the office of the president? And then, is this not also discriminatory? And I believe the law should be equal for everybody. So why is it that those that are only terminated while serving public office should be disqualified? And again, on what basis am I terminated? If the president sees me as a threat to his presidency and decides that let me destroy his political career, so I'm going to terminate him so that he couldn't run. Is that fairness? Is that reasonableness? Or is that reasonability, as the learned colleagues are saying? So for me, as a layman, those are my questions. That we look at this, yes, there's the law, but on what basis? And again, we all know that the former president really tried to do things to disenfranchise a certain group of people. Is that fairness? Do we as a nation want to hold on to these kinds of laws? Will it do our democracy well? These are the questions I think I want to ask. I think every Gambian should be asking ourselves.
And we go to you before we come back to the other lawyer, Mrs. Do you think this provision is reasonable?
I think this provision is very discriminatory to me, simply because if somebody is holding public office and can do extremely well, because with civil servants, the more they are in the civil service, the more they acquire the expertise and the knowledge. And I think it will be a resource to the public to maintain this. I mean, if you look at other presidents in the developed world, it was Obama of America that came very young, and George Bush. But most of the other presidents that come, they come with the resource, they come with the experience. And this office really needs someone who has the experience, who has the knowledge, who has gone through the ladders, through the levels of the civil service. Because you're dealing with many people day in, day out. And if you look at our public offices, I don't know now, our public officials, I don't know now, but before, you tend to be inducted in all the ministries before you even climb to be a principal secretary. So when you come into this office, you come with the experience, you come with the resource, and this will help you to execute the affairs, to run the affairs of this country. So I think for me, it is very discriminating, but at the same time too, as I said, it was to as Mr. Njai has said, these provisions are only meant to serve an interest of individuals. For me, this is the way that I see it. And to be terminated, but terminated based on what? Your services were terminated based. Was it, were you ill? Of course, if you're ill, if you were sick, you cannot perform the duties of a president. Really. We need to look at all this. And this is why it would have been very, very good if that draft, the 2021 draft constitution was passed, because as I said, all these laws will come back to haunt us and make life very difficult, especially for civil society actors such as us.
We come to you. Reasonable, not reasonable?
Not reasonable at all. I think it all depends on how you interpret it. Because if you literally interpret it as my lander friend did, you would come to an absurdity. The absurdity is this. You're saying that the president fires, but you're also saying that the president has the power to punish. Because remember, barring people for a lifetime from holding public office is a sentence. The Janet Commission had passed it on so many people for economic crimes. It is a punishment. There's nowhere in our laws where the president is empowered to punish any of the citizens. So what you're saying, on the one hand, the president has the power to fire or sack, which is clearly explained in the Constitution. It says the president, whoever he appoints, can sack that person. We have it on the 167. We also have it on the 231 of the Constitution. Now, what is clear is that the intention from the drafters is that this has to be based on conduct. So they said, found guilty of a criminal offense. You see, in law, there is this principle of interpretation which says that words are known by the company they keeps. So the company that we have here, for example, compulsory retired doesn't apply to a president or VP. You've never heard of a VP or president being compulsory retired. Where did you hear that? Never. So that certainly cannot be contemplated to apply to a VP or a president. Now, terminated or dismissed. These terms in here under Section 63 are not defined anywhere in this Constitution. The definition is found on a subordinate law, which is an extension allowed by the Constitution, and that is in the Civil Service Code. And that clearly says that this is a process. For someone who is terminated, they said that these are punishments, in fact. So you could see that that is the intention of the drafters here, because why would you say someone compulsory retired, terminated or dismissed, but you're not intended as a punishment, but on the B and C, you are intended for punishment. Secondly, it is against natural justice. Can that
secondly be the final, so we'll come back to you?
No, I just want to finish this last point.
Okay.
The third point is, it is against natural justice for someone to be punished for doing absolutely nothing. What has what has this public officer done? He's just been fired. What has he done? Has he done anything to warrant him being barred or punished for the rest of his life from vying for the office of president? It is not there. Natural justice dictates that you can only be punished for an offense, for something that you've done. We are saying that the president has the power.
Or have not done. Or have not done. For something you've done or omitted.
Omitted, yes. But this person has not done anything here. And here on the B and C.
I'm talking about a person, because we were to come to that person.
Exactly.
But before we do.
So what we are saying here.
Sir,
is it reasonable under 26?
You're stretching my reasonability. So we come back to you, Lawyer Mboj. Someone is asking for a definition of who is a public servant, who's a public officer. They want to know. Can we begin from there before we ask the next?
Yes, there is a definition of a public servant, public office in the Constitution itself. That is an office that is paid from the Consolidated Revenue Fund. The Consolidated Revenue.
Would this cover Vice President's office and cabinet ministers?
Certainly, certainly. They are all public offices.
Is this a good definition for you?
Yeah, that's it's already defined.
Basically,
Yeah.
public servant, public office, they're all public officer. They are all literally the same. They except the office of VP and president are the ones exempted from or excluded from what you refer to as public servant. See, the office of VP and president are not considered as public service officers. That is under 1664. It excluded.
We come back to you, Lawyer Mboch. Then the big question that everybody's asking, come nomination day, Lawyer Dabo may not be accepted as a candidate for the United Democratic Party. What are your views?
Yeah, it's difficult. The function of the IEC is to, or even after nominations, they have time to go over all the criteria to see if that person has met all the eligibility criteria for his confirmation of his nomination. Yeah. The nomination is a process. It's not a one-day or automatic where you just go and submit your nomination and you're accepted or rejected. So it's a process whereby the IEC also have to look at all the relevant laws pertaining to qualification for nomination for the office of president. If that person is qualified, certainly you'll be accepted. Your nomination will be accepted. If you are not qualified by the views of the IEC with their legal experts, because they all have lawyers as well, then if your nomination is rejected, like Mr. Jai said, the next step is for you to move to the Supreme Court. The court is there to interpret the Constitution, whether the office of Vice President is a public office or is not a public office.
You didn't answer the question really. Based on your interpretation of the law, would Dabo qualify or not?
Well, if we are going by the definition of a public office under Section 230 of the Constitution, which defines a public office as an office, the emoluments attached to which are paid directly from the Consolidated Revenue Fund or directly out of monies provided by an act of the National Assembly. So the question is whether the office of the Vice President is paid from the Consolidated Fund.
It is.
Or if it is, then it falls squarely under Section 62, subsection 3, paragraph 3 of the 1997.
I think you could see the unfairness of my learned friend there.
I see how he's going around. But let's go to civil society. Okay. I'm reserving you for a reason. Mr. Njai, what is your understanding? And you've been speaking from principle of fairness, and I like that. Would it be fair for someone so invested in our politics and have done so far so much to be disenfranchised just because?
Just because of the termination?
Yes.
Well, I think really that would be unfair. But again, let me say quickly, you see, the other provision that baffles me is to say somebody that has been found guilty of any criminal offense by any court of law or tribunal established by law whilst holding public office. So if I commit murder whilst not in public office, receive a presidential pardon, am I qualified to run for the office of the president? According to our constitution, that means I'm qualified. Or I commit treason and receive a pardon. So this shows that there is some discrimination in the law. And I think the learned colleagues and the learned people must be able to take this to the courts. I want to advocate that whether somebody challenges Dabo's eligibility or any candidate's eligibility, let us allow due process. We have laws, let us take it. If IEC takes a decision, let us go to the courts and let the courts give an interpretation and a declaration, because we must remain peaceful and calm. This thing of insulting, that if somebody does challenges my candidate, I'm going to do this, it's not worth it. Let's stay calm and allow the law to take its course. I think now in this country, we are beginning to have confidence in our judiciary. So let's allow the rule of law to prevail. Whoever is contesting, I believe this is democracy. Everybody should be free to challenge anybody. The fairness of it, only the courts can decide. Us in civil society, we really cannot decide. The courts, I believe, are the competent authority to do that.
Mrs. Sarr?
Yes, I agree with John, because what we advocate.
You keep agreeing. You civil society, you're sticking together.
We are not
because you know why? When the waters are very, very, very hot, or when there is conflict, we are the ones that always come, because people always run to us to ensure that there is peace. So therefore, when we advocate for peace. And in this particular issue, I think we have the electoral law, and also we have the constitution, and I trust the independence of our judiciary, really. And I'm sure if such a thing arises, they are the ones who will take care of it, because they are the landed people, as I always say. Even though we have laws, they brought laws that are really conflicting, and I'm sure they will be able to address this situation.
Thank you. Welcome to you, Yanks. You did a pretty reasonable write-up recently.
Of course.
And made a reasonable argument.
Of course.
Because we are talking about reasonability, right?
Of course.
And we cannot stretch it too far, or we can?
No, it will cut into.
Okay, but we have reasonable, stretch it reasonably. Yes. So which I think, in my view, from a layman's lens, it makes a lot of sense.
Of course.
Because termination did take place, but a crime wasn't committed.
Of course.
If from my view, if there was corruption, if there was malpractice, if there were reasons for which, and they were made public,
Yes.
then that will be reasonable.
You see,
No?
yes. You know what is. We as lawyers need to be sincere here. We need to make it clear to the Gambians what the law is. The law is very clear. When you're dealing with constitutional provisions, this is confirmed by the Supreme Court in the case of Sirfo Sonko, which also involved the IEC. So the IEC lawyers are very much aware of that you don't just go by the literal interpretation of the word that you see in the Constitution. You have to look at you have to interpret it broadly, purposively, and indeed you have to be generous. In fact, the Supreme Court said it's a must. You must do it that way. If you look at this one from that broad purposive interpretation, you cannot conclude that just that literal meaning is what is intended here. And as lawyers, we have to have the best interest of the country. As you said, this is a very sensitive topic. We have to be very careful of what case we bring to court. It's not every case that you just pick up and then take to court, especially when you know of a case that you know blatantly well, that this case, if I take it to court, I will lose. And if I do it so, I will create chaos in this country. But you still go on to do it simply because you want to sort of appease the desires of some other people. That is not the profession we practice.
Okay, let's hold it there. Lawyer Boch, we will come to you because this is still very interesting. We are, of course, only speculating, but we've heard from a lot of quarters that yourself and all other interested parties, some even said a civil society organization is intending to wait for after nomination and confirmation to challenge. Is this correct?
That is rumors, and it's false. And I can assure the general public that I have listened to those audios. They are all fake news. There's nothing correct about it.
Lawyer Boch has no intentions of challenging or otherwise.
I mean, the law is there. I did not make this law. You did not. Nobody makes it. We found this is a constitution that is meant to regulate our conduct and make sure that we don't knock heads, we don't fall into conflict, we don't fight each other. The procedures are there. The constitution empowers anybody, every Gambian who feels that a provision of this constitution will be violated has a right to go march to the Supreme Court. We have seen it in the case of Yakumba here. And the Supreme Court, like you said, and other CSOs who are here with me will all agree that they have confidence in the judiciary now. But that was decided in favor of Yakumba in the end. So if anybody feels that the constitution is about to be violated, you have a right. Nobody will stop you from going to the Supreme Court. But just like Mr. Njai warned, the mere fact that somebody has instituted an action in court to enforce the constitution or to protect himself or others does not mean that that person is meant to invite chaos in the country. In fact, he's a law-abiding citizen. That is why he went to court.
Okay, now we have only a few more minutes to go, but I wanted us to conclude on a couple of points, and I'll begin with you. The intent of this clause in the Constitution, in my view, is to prevent criminals from running the state. Would you agree?
Well, it does not stop criminals from running the state. It says criminals, if you commit a crime whilst in public office. So what about the people that have committed crimes whilst not in public office? Should they be? So that's why I talk about the fairness of these laws. But let me be quick to also add to what my brother said. Yankuba, we must not be a country of being afraid to challenge decisions based on consequences. I think every political party leader, every presidential aspirant owes it to the Gambia first to tell their supporters, let us follow the rule of law. So if I, as an individual, decide to challenge any presidential candidate, nobody should take it to vilify me, threaten my family, or threaten my existence because I am a Gambian. But what we are saying, beyond that, let's also look out for the peace of the country. Let the rule of law take its course so that we could be a civil. This is democracy. We can never agree on every point as a people. We will have divergent views. That's why we have people of different political opinions. But let us just go. I mean, I would not go and challenge some things because I just don't see the essence in it. I will not go and challenge this because I think this law is just crazy and unfair, you know, and biased. And we know the architect of this, and we have voted that architect out. So I will not want my name to go to support what somebody that had no good intention for the country did. And
I will add to that to say the embarrassment, in fact, is to the country that we are contesting the 2021 elections under the 1997 Constitution.
Exactly.
I think as a country, we ought to be ashamed of that.
Exactly.
Let's go to you, Ma, before we come to Dabo.
Okay, thank you, Arona. I think what I would like to say is that simply because it is still not very clear. The law is not very clear because it's stating that if you commit a criminal offense whilst in public office, why was the law so restrictive to public servants? Why wasn't it open up? And but also adding that come 2021, there are only one person will win, one person will lose, and the Gambia will win, and it's a Gambia that will lose. So it depends on us to ensure that we go into the elections peacefully and come out of it peacefully. And anything that is very sensitive, let's try to dialogue and see how we can address it. We have our courts, we have confidence in our courts. We can resort to the courts. Because when conflict arises, I mean, my constituency, the other women and the children and the young people, we are the ones who bear the brunt of it. And we do not want to see that.
Okay, Dabo?
I would echo what she just said. We do not want to see chaos in this country. Now, the reason why I would answer the point that John raised there with regards to someone who committed murder, why is the law more or less excluding those? I mean, if it tries to include everybody. It would, if such a scenario should happen in South Africa, Mandela would never be a president. So it's to basically avoid a situation where political leaders or incumbents try to manipulate the law and then implant whatever evidence against their opponents and then take them through kangaroo trials, and the next minute lock them up, and then they are disqualified from standing for president. So if you look at these laws, I think the intention is very clear. The law is protecting not just everybody, but the reason why it clearly states public officers is because this is going to be the highest office in the public office. If you are in the public office, you committed, for example, if we look at the termination that is defined under the Civil Service Code, you're talking about gross misconduct, conviction. Those are what normally warrants dismissal under Civil Service Code. Termination is also what they call persistent lateness, negligence, and all other stuff would come under termination. And then compulsory retirement would be where you are not performing as expected. That is the definition given under the Civil Service Code. I think clearly that that is the intention here. The reason why people go to court is because they have a case. You don't go to court simply because you want to light up the country. That is just wrong.
Okay. We're now running out of time, and I wanted to keep this on schedule before the Makande will start yelling. He insists on 90 minutes. I think we're nearing 2 hours now. Okay. Now, we'll give you 2 minutes. You can make your closing statements, Mr. Njai.
Well, my closing statement is to all fellow Gambians. We have to participate in this political process. Yes, join political parties, but please, please have the interest of the country at heart. Go out, vote peacefully. Everything we do, campaign peacefully. There is life after the elections. And we as a people, the young people, let's protect the future of our country by being peaceful. We are known as the peace-loving and the smiling coast. Let's do well by us and just do things peacefully and again surprise the world like we did in 2016. We have a country to build, what do you say? We wish all the aspirants well. May the best person and the best team win. God bless you and God bless our beautiful country.
Lawyer Board?
Yeah, thank you very much for giving this opportunity to the entire Gambian and even non-Gambians who are all watching this program. I will really call it a fantastic debate. All we have to do is just to add to what Mr. Njai have said. We need to be careful and we need to be law-abiding, and we have to respect the laws of our country. The fact that somebody is going to court, how many people have gone to court in this country? Does that mean that they want to bring chaos into the country? No, simply because they want to know who is right and who is wrong. So going to court does not mean that that person is inviting chaos or wants to light up the country or wants to invite trouble or I mean, we as lawyers, like my learned friend have said, we are here to guide the general public and ensure that whoever is satisfied or dissatisfied with the decision of the IEC, please, for God's sake, no need to abuse people, no need to threaten people, no need to burn down people's houses, no need to take the law into your hands. The courts are there for everybody. Nobody will stop you from going to the court. Just go and engage your lawyer, prepare your case file, and march to the Supreme Court. There your rights will be determined peacefully, without any bloodshed, without any abuses, and without any insults.
Thank you.
I wish everybody a very happy and blessed nomination and election process in advance.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Dabo.
Thank you very much. And I believe this was a very fruitful and educative debate. I hope the listeners are able to benefit a lot from it. What I want to say, just to re-echo what everybody said, it is the duty of every Gambian to ensure that we all protect the peace and security of this nation. Whatever decisions we take we have to put that at the foremost, at the forefront. We need to think about peace. The tranquility that we enjoy in this country, it's very paramount to all of us, and it should be endearing to all of us. What we must all do is to ensure that we have a free and fair elections. And that is, the Gambian people are given the choice to make that choice, to choose their leader who should lead them in the future. Do not be the catalyst who will deprive a great majority of Gambians from their leader that they want to lead them in the future. And if you believe in the peace of this country, you should act as one of those that will be maintaining it. And that is crucial. There is time for court. You can go to court at any day. We believe in the court. We have every confidence in our judiciary, but think of the timing of whatever action that you take. Gambia matters to all of us, and the peace of this nation matters to all of us. I would urge all supporters of our party to remain law-abiding.
Please don't campaign. Please don't campaign.
Be peaceful and law-abiding.
Madam Sir.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I will just join others in thanking you for giving us this opportunity, Mr. Drame, to talk to the nation, whether you are in the Gambia or outside the Gambia. I will want to wish all candidates well, and I want to wish Gambians peaceful elections. But to remind all Gambians that elections come and go, but the Gambia remains. And we have no other country but the Gambia. And we should cherish and jealously guard the peace that we enjoy in this country. I'm calling on all women to play their role, to ensure that they play the peacemaking role, to ensure that they calm the young people. And I'm calling on young people not to be used by any politician, to understand that when all the dust is done, it is young people that we hand over the baton. And if anything that we have said here did not go down well with anybody, we do not mean to. It was just to dialogue and just to share our views. But the main objective is to ensure that we have a peaceful elections. Thank you once again, and I wish everybody. Nomination is coming. Let's go through all these processes peacefully. We've done it in 2016, and we came out victorious, and we should repeat the same thing. We should not put up this country into flames. We have no other country but this country, and this country remains. And may God bless everyone. May God bless the Gambia. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you. The lady began the debate today and ended as well. We have, in fact, the exemplary gentlemen here. And I want to thank you, Tabunjai Sar, for accepting our invitation and for being here. And to you, Yankuba Dabo, and to you, LK Mboj, as well as John Charles Njai. And before we end tonight, we're going to say young people play a crucial role in elections. We see the numbers. We see the involvement. We've seen the engagement. Continue that. This is your country to inherit. Decisions that are made today will affect you the most. Go out, vote. More than 500,000 of our young people are voting in this election. That's more than 50% of all registered voters. It matters. Let us be part of the process. Let us continue to engage our political leaders. Let us engage in politics in a decent and civilized manner. Every young person should align to a view, to an ideology, to a political party if you can. If you cannot, do make a decision of the future of your country by voting. We encourage everybody to vote. We would like to make history. There's a lot of history being made in our political space. 25 nomination forms were picked up from the IEC. That's the first in this country. Now, can we see 100% voter turnout? Let us do that. Let us all go out there. It's a secret ballot. Vote, go home, wait. Those of us who want to wait at polling stations, it is your right. Hang out, let the voting on the spot be in your presence, and you know that there is no secret and there is no theft of your token, and that in fact everything had gone right as per the rules of engagement. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. It's been a wonderful debate, and we will encourage such to continue in the country. We are wishing every political party successful nominations. Those who are going to go into alliances, good luck. Whoever wins December 5th, we will be behind you as a nation. This is what we pray, and amen to that prayer. Thank you very much, and have a good night.
Gambian Talents TV gis ngeen rek debate bi daal dina rek jeex waaye gis ngeen tey debate bi nu mu demee di debate bi nga xam ne ñi ko séqoon gis ngeen ko bokk ci ñaari looya ak kenn ki nga xam ne mooy Tabu Ndiaye Sarr moom mi nga xam ne rek mooy ab activiste la boo xam ne day xeexal jigéen ñi di advocate bi nga xam ne mooy baatu jigéen ñi ci réew mi waaye it gis nga ki nga xam ne rek mooy John Charles Ndiaye di rek ki nga xam ne mooy chairman of Tango moom it bokk na ci gis rek ñaari lawyer yi mooy ki nga xam ne Lamine kii Mbodj ak ki nga xam ne rek moo di Yankuba Dabo moom it bokkoon ci ñoom ñëpp rek doon rek bokk ci ñi nga xam ne ci debate bi la gis nga debate bi niñ ko ubbee di wax li nga xam ne mooy charte yi ngir nga mën a doon rek li nga xam ne moo di njiiti réew boo ko bëggee doon charte yi nga xam ne war nga koo matale daal dinañ ko rek wax ci li nga xam ne mooy ci debate bi ndax loolu lañ ko rek tàmbale ñaari lawyer yi daal di rek wax li nga xam ne mooy charte yi réew mi maanaam di constitution bi lan la rek fàggul ngir ñi nga xam ne mooy doomi réew mi ci ku ci nekk boo bëggee sàkku li nga xam ne mooy baatu askan wi defe naa ni mbokk yi doon bàyyi xel dégg ngeen loolu debate bi ni mu demee ku ci nekk am nga sa xalaat waaye defe naa ne doon na debate boo xam ne am na solo surtout ci askan wi nga xam ne xëy na ëllëg ñoom ñooy dooni li nga xam ne rek moo di président wala leneen ci réew yi loo xam ne pal moo koy daal di rek waral jàngal nañ ci nit lan mooy àq ak yelleefu li nga xam ne rek mooy koo xam ne doomu réew mi la lan la ko réewam war a jaral waaye loolu yëpp daal dinañ ko fi rek waxtaane ñu tëjee ko it nag di woote jàmm ci li nga xam ne moo di élection di woote li nga xam ne mooy jàmm bañ xuloo bañ a féewaloo xam ne Gambia Gambien si ñoo ko moom Gambia pour ñëpp la ku ci manti win élection bi defe naa ne Gambia moo win ku ko ci manti ñàkkit Gambia ba tey moo ñàkk pour li ma la bëgg a wax rek mooy jarul xiroo jarul ŋaayoo lépp rek lu ko waral mooy ok su ko defee rek ngeen ànd ak Fat Samba mu def ak interview ki nga xam ne rek mooy lawyer ki nga xam ne mooy lawyer LK Mbodj ak ki nga xam ne mooy lawyer Yankuba Dabo su ko defee rek bàyyi leen ak Fat Samba mu daal di rek amal li nga xam ne moo di waxtaan bi ak ñoom moo ngi ni
Dabo are one and the same people. We are brothers. We are colleagues. We have different views. But we sit and dialogue, and after our debate, we are shaking hands.
Lawyer Mbodj and also lawyer Dabo ndax nit du ne xëj na yow da nga feel ne UDP maybe ñooy win election moo tax nga bëgg a def ko friend nga gis ne su dara xewee rek ñu ajos la moom it mu def ko friend because su NPP winee rek UDP ñoo lii dama bëgg a xam naka.
No, xam nga we have to be liberal. Wow, dañ war a liberal in the sense that dañ war a flexible si lu nekk lu ñu wax. In politics, we can go and do our campaign. If Mr. Dabo wins, man, dama ko war a congratulate. Man, congratulations for a job well done. Man, small winning, mom tamit def ma war a congratulate. Mu ne ma Mr. Mbodj, congratulations for a job well done. We all played our part while God has decided to choose your leader as the president of Gambia. I will go and support him. Man, suma jabar, UDP la. I am NPP. We live in the same house. We chat every day. We play like cat and mouse, like how do you call it?
I can confirm that is true.
That is correct. And then after
The name of your wife?
Mugi in Germany, she's called Tida Konjira, Madame Mbodj. She called herself Madame Mbodj, so Tida Madame Mbodj Lasata. But I mean, it doesn't mean that we are enemies. We still love each other. We remain as husband and wife. We never argue or have difference of ideas in a day. Mr.
So xanaa dafa xam ne seen parti mooy win.
No. I think it is about Gambia. We are brothers. What binds us is more than what separates us. Like I said, politics is sharing of ideas. The reason why we are in different parties, the intention is very simple. We want Gambia Mudem Sikanam. And that's what we are fighting for. That's what the whole thing is about. Yeah. So it's not like we're going after anyone. We will welcome everybody and said, let's come together and work and develop Gambia and make Gambia better. It's not like we are going there for witch hunting. That is not the intention. So like he said, he should contact us and congratulate. If they win, we should contact them and congratulate. We'll meet again.
Election, yes. Because every day we are together. Just yesterday, we were in court together. And then we see each other, we play, we joke, we laugh. The other Lamin Dabo, I know he knows. We meet in court, we greet each other, we fight our cases, and after our cases, we greet each other, we go on our day.
But xanaa yéen seen supporters yi xamuñ loolu because sometimes loo dee gis moo nekk supporters yi dañoo sàggante dañoo xasante waaye tey ñu gis leen yéen ñaar yi na ngeen wécci wante loxo loolu dafa neex.
Waaw loolu mooy political maturity. Political maturity mooy gomal lu nga gom ma gom lu ma gom ma def lu ma def nga def lu nga def ku yàlla may ndam ëllëg ma support la loolu mooy opposition nekkul ne dañoo bañante wala dañoo xañante dañoo sagante dañoo defante non loolu du politics mooy man lii laa gom dama bëgg nga ñëw join suma idea yow li nga gom dafa bëgg mu ngi uti nit ñi moo tax gis loo su bëgg a dugg si politics la ñu ne ko non don't campaign here because mu ngi uti nit ñu ko support so look, that is politics. You sell your ideas to the people, they buy it or not buy it. So the politicians, the public have the right to choose who they are going to vote. It's a secret ballot, so it's an kata kendo vaneka.
It takes so much to throw aspersion at another or purunga insult ko. It would take very little purunga wax something lune bo hamne dina convince ko mo join the party. So we encourage everyone, we engage in the exchange of ideas. Ñu mëna won what advancement we can do for them if our party wins. You see what I mean? That's what we would want. So if we would say, if we win, we want GTV to also have their own TV channels, and that is what we will fight for you people as well.
But ban yardstick nga am ku wax ñu ne UDP ñoy win this election, and I want you to look at my camera nga wax ñu ban yardstick nga am ku ne UDP ñoy win election.
100%.
Foko wér.
with the hope that I have from the people, I think the Gambian people want change. And then we are campaigning. We are working very hard on the ground. We are doing everything that we can to convince everybody. So we don't want to leave anybody out for them. We want all of them to come to us.
Do you think UDP is fit to run this country?
Of course, I think we are. We are more than fit to run the country. And I think if we take over the country, we will do an amazing job, that which every Gambian will be proud of us.
ban yastik nga am ne président Barrow mooy continuer retail bi.
Yeah, from the generality of the public, voters, you can determine by the output, by the outcome of the voters in support of the president. So it doesn't mean that all those new gena nyoko votal. Why ñun xam nañ suñ dajé tay ñu ne NPP ni UDP ni dinañ leen upal ñaari yoon lu upal lolu sax.
Nga ko waxé.
Mako wax tay mako wax elek.
Gambian Talents nga ko waxé dina ñew ñu jakkaloo waye liyanks bala nga dem parce que lawyer nga te ñu bari ñu ngi wax ne Ousainou Darboe parce que mus naa dugal si mile 2 bi si prison bi loolu dina ko disqualify ko mu nekk président gëm nga loolu noonu ndax.
Loolu du ko mën a disqualify because time boobu nekkutoon as a public officer, so nekkutoon di receive salary from the government post, so loolu disqualify ko, yeah. So because time boobu nekkut public officer, nekkut holding public office, yes.
Ina dégg loolu yang sa ko wax yow lan ma si sa comment.
Man lu ma yokka foofu am nga rumors yi bari nañ ne lawyer Mbodj mu ne dafa yóbbu Mr. Darboe court. It's all fake news. Man dama act on instructions. I'm not an individual. I work for a unit. I work for a party. And it's our party's policy to allow each and every Gambian to contest the election. Let the Gambian people decide.
But yow su nekkee ne yaa ngi work for a party and sa party is not right yow fooguloo ne da nga mën a wax sa party na déedéet bu leen ko defee nii defee leen ko nii then ñiti dinañ question sa lawyer ya.
Wow, man, it's my duty to advise. I don't make decisions. Decision makers are there. If it is decided to allow everybody to run, just like Mr. Darboe was saying during the debate, there'll be no chaos, there'll be no fighting, there'll be no insults. Let everybody go and contest election.
So then they advise NPP sometimes, you know, la did it.
No. Man, I always have the support of my party members, because if my advice is not to take anybody to court. For the NPP, we are not taking anybody to court, whether you are qualified or not qualified. IEC soon la clear, you are fit to stand for presidency. Man, I'm always ready for that.
I just want to thank everyone who has been watching the debate, and I hope that they've all benefit from it, because that would be the intent and purpose for it, to help the public understand some of these things. And I hope that we've done justice to the topic. Alafana ban mandinkulu anaka moilalbe balbe tendula bal jaila amunta being a debate le soto wala nyindiko kana ka nyoso hakilola njikita mo jama mini programme nyin lamoy na hamen ko mo min wala nyinti ye sota soto je londo soto je mi ala be na fala ni mo soto da butun wala mum fana na hamoti nge be tendu nge jay
baraka baake moom nag dinañ jàkkaarloo moom am neen li nga xam ne moo nekk saa su ne ni leen koy defee Gambian Talents TV. Mr. Mbodj tàggatoo.
Thank you very much. lu ma woon Gambian si mooy gis nañ man ma Mr. Darboe nuñ defee suñ debate nuñ defee suñ interview nuñ suñ génnee si biti man ma moom ñooy nuyuwante ñooy jàmmalante ñuy def suñ liggéey te duñ saagante dañ respectante. So Gambians si suñoo def seen politics nañ xam ne politics du dunda ak dee. Politics is a matter of time. Fii ba after December 4th li yëpp dina jeex ko doon saaga démba soo ko gisee di nga siga di nga ruus parce que lu nga doon wax yu bari na wax yi ñaaw nañ loolu yëpp jaru ko. Koy support ko soo buggee demal toog sa néeg taal sa télé nga seetaan télé su sànni katra jotee nga dem sànni sa katra waaye everybody's right pour nga génn nga dem join any party campaign waaye nañ bàyyi saaga ak wax yu ñaaw yi ak wax yu bon yi ak threatenante ak yaxante loolu amul njëriñ ku ko def loi mooy dox si dëkk bi su la téyee loolu am fa yaa ko utal sa bopp.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you very much.
All right, Gambia, you know, don't say that Gambian Talents TV debate below one. You know, qualify for presidency. Lola gadi wahtane. Fum nekk ni sun dëkk bi mu ngi ja loo waxta waxuloo politique waxuloo dara. December mu ngi ñëw si di wax Haruna very big thanks because li debate bu am solo la ba nga xam ne moom moo koy organise di ñu si allow ñu nit ñuy ñëw di waxtaan ak askan bi ëllëg nag fekk leen ñu si National Assembly bi ñu indi leen live coverage of what will be happening budget speech leen wax Mohamed May Garmi sonna nga fan yi moom macha allah.
waaw jaajëf Fatou jaajëf mbokk yi doon bàyyi xel debate bu doon daw file di big debate tey ngeen ko doon am fii ci Gambian Talents TV niki niñ leen ko waxee woon rek di leen indil coverage yoo xam ne amul benn télé bu leen koy jox ndax dañuy ñëw balaa muy tàmbali bu tàmbalee ak bu jeexee yëpp ñu toog dafa leen ay analyse dafa leen ay interview suba nag ñu diggati leen rek daje fële ca pencum ndaw réew mi muy National Assembly ci li nga xam ne rek mooy kopparal bi ñu war a def muy budget bi nga xam ne kii di Minister of Finance dina fa rek daal di teew daal di wax loolu nag sa right la yow ngir yow citizen bi nga toog di déglu ñuy wax lan lañ amal health sector bi lan lañ amal education bi lan lañ amal fépp agriculture ak lépp loo xam ne nii dafa la soxal yow te nga yàgg bëgg xam lan lañ ci la ci government bi naral ngir defal ko ngir mu am yow mi nga xam ne yaa may seetaan koj ko suba di nga ko am ci Gambian Talents TV live coverage la leen di jox ak ay interview ak ay analyse yoo xam ne analyse yu pertinent lay doon yoo xam ne doo ko am fenn fudul fii continuer di seetaan Gambian Talents TV. waa debate bi nii la ndaxte nga dajale ay lawyer ñu war a waxtaanee ku ci nekk àqam ak yelleef war a waxtaanee élection nan lay demee war a waxtaanee it lan moo wala def yow doomu réew mi ngir nga mën a doon laaj baatu réew mi defe naa ne yow muy seetaan am nga njëriñ boo ci jàngee debate bi ni ma ko gisee nag ci wàllu niñ ko organiser jaar na yoon Mr Dramé di ko congratulate ci lool waaye analyse bi ma ciy def tamit mooy gis nga rek pour wan ñiy support gis ngeen tey lawyer Mbodj ak lawyer Dabo niñ joxante loxo niñ café niñu ree muy UDP ak NPP su ko defee loolu moo lay jàngal yow mi support NPP ak yow mi support UDP warul leen noono dafa war a nekk rek exchange of ideas kii mu ne sama idea party wala sama agenda party moo gën a rafet moo gën a jekk sa agenda party ku ci nekk di wax ak sa morom boo bëggee convince sa morom ngir mu topp la da ngeen koy defante ci lan ci waxtaan ci lan ci xelalante ci lan ci waxtaan boo xam ne du ànd ak saaga du ànd ak leneen loo xam ne parce que boo xoolee debate bi tàmbali na ci lan jàngal nit ki nan lay xamee réewam jàngal nit ki nan lay amee li nga xam ne mooy bu waree taxaw président fan la war a jaar waaye fan lañ ko tëjee ci woote jàmm fan lañ ko tëjee pour élection yi nekk ci jàmm élection yi mu jeex ci jàmm kon daf lay wan rek ne la fii réew mi lu dul jàmm xaju fi te wolof moo lay wax ne lu dul jàmm ko gën kon su ko defee debate bi jaar na yoon Fatou Samb ku ci nekk cër bañ la joxoon pour nga wax matale nga ko liñ la laaj defe naa ne wax nga ko askan wi tamit ñoom it ku ci nekk am nga lesson boo ciy jëlee kon li ñuy wax rek mooy ñun fii lañ koy tàmbalee Gambian Talents TV parce que ñun xam nañ ni we always speak for peace di ñaan rek élection yi na tàmbali si jàmm parce que nomination benn bis moo dox ci diggante bi ndax Saturday la war a start on 30th so kon élection mi ngi gën a jege si kon di war ne nomination yi nañ ko tàmbali si jàmm mu jeex si jàmm ku ci nekk ànd ak bu fekkee da ngay ànd ak sa parti dem nominate bu qualifié na nga ànd ak moom ñibbi lu ci manti xewit na nga xam ne Gambia moo nekk ci kaw ñëpp donc man lii laa am ci li ma nekk di wax ginnaaw loolu di leen fàttaliwaat ne suba am na live coverage bu ñu leen di jox incha allah ci National Assembly bi muy budget bi nga xam ne moom la ki nga xam ne mooy Minister of Finance mu di Maam Buri Njie war a waxtaanee foofu waaye di ngeen ko am fii ci Gambian Talents TV Fatou Samb Mohamed Mbaye Garmi la ak Fatou Samb ak Moussa Diatta suñu technicien bi ak ki nga xam ne rek moom it mi ngi fii suñu muy Mariama bi Fati noonu rek lay demee Fatou Samb.
waaw jërëjëf Garmi dama koy wax saa su ne ku nekk dafa war a xam dëkkaam dëkk bi ni moo doxee ñan ñoo koy doxal lan lañ wax si dëkk bi ñun ñëpp dañ ko war a bàyyi xel tey debate bi nekkul rek politicien yi waaye ñun suñ boppa sax jàngi nañ si lu bari bari dinañu tax ñu xam kan moo war a qualify ak kan moo warut a qualify ak soo waree qualify lan moo la war a qualify loo kon nag Gambia fii la ñoo em ak yéen ba incha allah ëllëg ñu indil leen li nga xam ne nag mooy National Assembly bi bi nga xam ne gaa yaa ngi nar a wane li nga xam ne moo nekk seen xaalis bi naka lañ koy doxalee kon nag bu leen dara uppa bu leen dara bu leen dara jaxasoo toog leen rek ngeen seetaan Gambian Talents TV ñu indil leen ko live and direct dara du des tey dinañ leen indil ministre yooyu teg leen si suñu boor interview leen comme ñun interviewé politicians yëpp ni nga ko gisee rek caméraman just show ñu li nga xam ne mooy ground bi gis ngeen ko ñëpp pare neen daanaka benn media house nekkatu fi ñu nekk fi nekk rek di leen wanal li nga xam ne mooy programme wax naa leen su jeexut rek ñun duñ jeexal te soo leen sonn duñ sonna ñu box leen rek di jajee incha allah ba ëllëg si kanam tuuti rek studio bi dinañ leen indil leneen di jaajëfal nag sun team bi nga xam ne moom leen aanal Mariama bi Fati ak ki nga xam ne nag mooy Moussa Diatta mi nga xam ne liggéey bu rafet bi nga xam ne moom ngeen nekk di seetaan moom moo leen koy indil live and direct suñu wax soo leen ko déggee moom la suñu kanam soo leen ko gisee mu nice moom la kon nag Moussa Diatta thank you very much to support me. Jeff, if you were watching Gambian Talents TV, this is your favorite online television that will bring you everything that is happening in the Gambia and also outside Gambia. We have different reporters all over that will always bring you everything about Gambia and that will always interest you as Gambians. So stay tuned with Gambian Talents TV as we will bring you tomorrow live coverage of what will be happening at the National Assembly, the budget we will be talking about, what the Gambia government has to give to the people. So this stay tuned with Gambian Talents TV as we will bring you more programs. We are always ready for you, especially election time. So Garmi, be elek ak jam.
Be elek ak jam, the people's power. Doole askan wi.
The people's power. Jërë ngeen jëf. Ngeen dem ak Supersonic.
If you want to receive monies from UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world, Supersonic's money transfer has got you covered. With the largest payout network in the Gambia, you can now receive your monies anywhere you are, from Kartong to Koina, with less hassle. Yes! You can receive monies from your family and friends in UK, Europe, USA, Canada, Switzerland, and the rest of the world with our safe, secure, fast, and convenient service that offers you the largest selection of payout locations in the Gambia. Supersonic's money transfer. We are currently in 34 African countries and counting, giving you quality money remittance services that are second to none. Visit the Google Play Store or the Apple Store today to download the Supersonics Money Transfer app and enjoy excellent money transfer services only with Supersonics.
Askan wi génn leen ñu pengu jee fagarlu moo gan fa jooyaay mooy li ñuy aar.
Assalaamu aleykum wa rahmatullahi taala wa barakatuhu. Mbokk yi ñuy seetaan man la al oustaz Mouhamadul Amin Kan al Mansouri maa ngi leen di massawu ci feebaru mbas bii nga xam ne wër na àdduna bi tëj na doomu aadama yi ñu koy wax coronavirus ku ne xam na ne rey na doomu aadama yu bare bari ci àdduna bi fekk am na ku ko am rek yëgal ne kenn muccagul lu ciy pexe la ciy pexe mbokk moo di nga jóg gaaw léegi bi nga déggee sama kàddu dem jëli vaccine bi comme vaccine am na nañu sant yàlla te vacciné wu dalalal sa xel nga dem jëli vaccine bi ndax nga aar sa bopp aar sa njaboot waaye aar ñeneen ñi nga dëkk ak ñi ngay jëflante.
Askan wi génn leen ñu pengu jee fagarlu moo gan fa jooyaay mooy li ñuy aar.